Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Business of Business podcast, Two Daughters and Their Dad. I'm your host, Staci J. Dempsey. And like always, thankfully, I have with me the other daughter, one of the other daughters, and the one and only dad. Good morning, good afternoon to the both of you. And good morning and good afternoon to all of our viewers and listeners. We're so excited that you guys decided to join us today. Today, we want to talk a little bit about how do we blend technology and personal touches in our marketing. There's so many different ways we can automate our business and automate touches, but also are we over automating? Are we leaving out the personal touch, the thoughtfulness of things? And how can that maybe affect our marketing in a positive way if we can learn or we can blend together the two? So Jennifer, why don't you maybe start us off a little bit and talk a little bit about what maybe you've done in your business and your marketing, automated versus high touches, things that maybe have made a difference.
Thank God for technology, right? Technology has elevated everything inside of small businesses and has really been helpful with marketing to kind of set it up to you don't really have to think about or overthink it. I know I've said time and time again on this podcast, there's certain things that we just have to do in 2025 within our small businesses. For example, I own a hair salon, so have to have online booking. We know that consumers do not want to pick up the phone and call you. They want to send you a text message. They want to email you. They want to go on at 3 a.m. and book their haircut appointment. And so we want to be able to offer that. That simply having online booking or, for example, maybe like a food place having your menu online, being able to order online, that is the difference between people wanting to do business with you and not wanting to do business with you. Consumers want to see that you're up with technology, that you make it as easy as possible to do business. So there's tons of things, when it comes to technology that is just a must have, and it really does help us. I know in my business and Dempsey Weiss, we do newsletters, right? We send out newsletters every month, letting people know, letting our clients know what we have going on inside of the salon. We have, when somebody leaves my business, automatic, I don't have to think about it. My software sends them a text message. Hey, how was your experience? Here's an opportunity to tell us, rate your experience, leave a review. Maybe it wasn't a great experience. This is what we do next. And again, so those things are just automated. I don't have to think about them. And we get that feedback and it's very easy. One thing that I changed last year inside of my business or experimented with, because 8 years ago when we opened the business, one of the first types of marketing we did was Dad's idea. And it was like, when he brought it to me, I'm like, this is so old school, but to make him happy, we did it anyway. And we sent out snail mail to certain demographics around where my business was. And I just remember thinking like, blind faith here, people. We're going to let the experienced roll with this and I'll collect the data and see if this works.
And successful.
Listen, it helped with the name out there, right? And that was the goal.
Yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So when I say that, I know for me, at least in almost 9 years of business, we've done all kinds of marketing. It has been very beneficial to be able to streamline a lot of marketing and take it to technology. But I do feel like because we were so automated, I wasn't feeling super inspired with our marketing. And that was what I was thinking about when we first opened, thinking how silly Dad was, but I was going to trust him anyway with this snail mail, sending out postcards. I revisited that last year in a different way, but I did handwritten thank you notes to new clients every month and mailed them snail mail. Yes, people, I had to go to the post office, buy stamps, okay? Been a while since I did that. I'm like in there, what kind of stamps do you have? I need pretty stamps. My mom always taught me, get some good looking stamps, okay? So, And what came from that marketing piece for me last year, which I have continued into the new year, is that people visited my business once. We sent them a thank you note. The next time they came in, they complimented that note. They recognized that note, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, because it wasn't even me doing their hair. I can't believe the owner sent me a note. Like, how thoughtful that was. So that's one of the personal touches that we circled back, that I stopped doing and I started doing again. And that has really gave our clients, especially new clients, a personal touch, a feel of how we like to do business.
Amazing. That's so good. I think it's funny you call it snail mail.
I mean,
Is that not what it's
God.
called?
I guess so, but
yeah. I mean, I just go back to that because, there is that, I just felt like, when something's new out there and you're new into a community, I just always felt like, utilizing, snail mail, regular mail, but that postcard type of mail where, again, it's hard to be overlooked. It's hard to get lost in your inbox. It's hard to, because you're just opening your mail, you're going through, and here's a, kind of a colorful, really, somewhat robust postcard of a new salon. And you say, wow, that's, I can almost, especially in the, in the area that Jen's in, I mean, I could almost walk there, And so, again, I mean, it wasn't more than that, but I'm glad. I do remember it working out fairly well, so I'm glad. Or I was probably going to have to give her the postage back. But yeah, and I like what you said there, Jen, about technology today. Though, I mean, wow, I mean, what's at our fingertips now from a technology standpoint to market and to touch clients and customers. I mean, it wasn't that many years ago. It would have just simply been cost prohibitive to try and do that. Where now, in fact, it can almost be very minimal cost other than time. You have to think it through. You have to, have a plan, and you got to come up with content. But, but the actual marketing itself, the client touches itself, the cost of that's dropped down to probably a few pennies a touch, really. And so that's just a great advantage of, entrepreneurship in today's world. Now, with that being said, everybody's using it, right? Everybody's using technology. And especially as AI has more and more impact, there's just so many different ways, through technology, through social media, to connect, that you can almost, as I think as a consumer, I know at times I can, you just kind of feel overwhelmed, with stuff, and so then the question comes, all right, I obviously have to use technology because it's just a good business decision from an investment standpoint. But then the next question that you have to follow up with is, how can I do it and be different? What's my differentiator in my technology presence over my competition and just over what everything else is out there? Even if it's not a direct competitor to your business, you're still competing with people's attention, or for people's attention, and where they're gonna spend their money. So, what are you doing to differentiate yourself, in that space? And honestly, I think it's, how do I incorporate, some kind of personal touch into that process? And so, there's a lot of ways to do it, but again, it takes thought, it takes planning, and it certainly takes time. So, but I think that is, I mean, wouldn't you guys agree? I mean, with everything out there, I mean, I know I sometimes I just want to pick up the phone and reach out and talk to somebody. I don't really want to have to go through, a whole prompting system, and I know that obviously bigger companies are going to use that. And it's not in many cases particularly onerous, but sometimes you want to pick up, you want to talk to someone, you want to get your answer, move it forward, and be done. So I think people out there are getting a little bit hungry for some personal touch in the process. Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah. I think that there's almost a fine line of what is convenient and what can be automated versus, yeah, this might be automated, but it's really not, it's not making me really love the experience with that company or that service, or it's like the thing that's going to stick out in my mind that yeah, I would have just rather somebody called me, or I could just call someone and get this handled, because now, in hindsight, whereas if it was the other way about, like, wow, that was so easy to do that, and it really wasn't automated, it was just somebody picking the phone up, so it could go both ways. Positive experience. And
Well, and I think that
oh man.
that's really what makes it stand out between you know, corporations or really big companies compared to small businesses. And that's what I think consumers want. They want those personal relationships. I know in my life I look for that, right? So it's like I'm not a big I want to go back and email you 50 million times. So, I mean, just recently I had a problem with my health insurance. It's like it takes one phone call. They know exactly who I am. They look it up and it's handled within 3 minutes instead of having to go back and forth. And so just having those relationships within business, I think is becoming important, or has really been important for consumers. And that's what we really need to focus on inside of our small businesses as we continue to market, is how can we continue to provide this relationship that we know consumers are looking for, and how can we set ourselves apart from the rest? What are those small things that we can do to accomplish that? And before we hit record, I was complimenting you guys that I pull inspiration from your guys' business, because I think you guys do such a great job with that. I love kind of, because I am your customer, okay? We do business together, even though we're family. So I get to look and experience from a customer point of view. And so I like getting those emails with, dad thanking, a video of dad thanking, the clients for winning best of, or a video email of like why life insurance is important. I'm like, guys, I don't need any more life insurance, but you're making me feel like I do. What's happening? Or Staci is my insurance agent, right? So she sends me a handwritten happy birthday card with like a little gift card in there. And I get excited every time about it, because that doesn't typically happen, right? Businesses don't typically do that. So when I think about what you guys are doing, that helps me to decide, yeah, there's certain things that just make sense to automate inside of our business, right? It makes sense to do a newsletter once a month. I'm not emailing clients, 30 every single day out of the month, but it makes sense to automate certain things, and then making sure that we have personal touches along the way. I was also sharing, I have this client who is my number one client inside of my business. She's so special to me. And so, she has for the past 3 years been my top client inside of my business. And so obviously I know that, but I also care for her deeply. And she's just such a sweet person. But I know her birthday is on Valentine's Day. So we both share a love of like indoor plants. And so I just always get her an indoor plant that I would love. And so it just goes along. Like, she's always surprised. I feel like she expects it now because I do it, but she at least acts surprised. And so it's just a really sweet moment that, you know, I have reminders on my phone, like, don't forget. Cause it would be easy for me to forget. Right. But it's important to really show my appreciation to that client and to remember and make sure that I make her feel special. So that's a personal touch that I just try to go above and beyond for that client. So I'm hoping that through this podcast, we're thinking about different ways that we can market to our clients, but also kind of go above and beyond when it comes to the client experience. The other thing I wanted to bring up to you, Dad, is something we talk about all the time. Sometimes it is easier to maintain a current client and a current relationship than to go out and find new business. With that being said, sometimes it's exciting to like the challenge of new business, but don't lose, that's why for us, we have a loyalty program. And so we want to give back to clients that are loyal to us, but you'll see us run incentives for new clients. And so I never wanted to make my loyal clients like, she's always giving stuff away for new clients. Like, what about me who's been here for 10 years? Right? Because I'm trying to think of the consumer and how they're perceiving things. So I want to make sure that I'm showing my appreciation to our loyal clients that have been with us for a long time, but also incentivizing new clients to come and have that experience with us as well.
Well, I mean, that right there, that topic of, current clients versus attracting new business could be a podcast all on its own.
Yeah.
Because you're absolutely right. I mean, and I know we talk about that here is, from a cost benefit perspective, certainly a much more cost effective to number one, retain client once you have them, but also look for ways that make sense to generate more revenue out of that client, whether it's other services that you have and that type of thing, and not lose sight of the fact that, your business might do two or three other things that client, should be making sure they're being made aware of. Like in our case, we might have, their business insurance. Well, we don't have their health insurance, or we don't have any investment or retirement. We want to make sure, if they have needs in that area, they're coming to us, and then that generates, and the hard part's over, right? We already have the client, we already have the trust, they are already hopefully had a high, a very good experience, with your team. And so the hard part should be over. But you're right. I mean, that's something that you should be aware of in your business is, what am I offering out to try and attract business that could be perceived as I'm taking my existing customer base for granted, right? Because I'm not offering them some of those incentives or that type of thing. So it's a very good question to ask. The other thing I want to hit on too is in your marketing. The other thing I think you want to be very cautious about, especially if you're doing digital email marketing, social media, those kind of things, that, that you're not always not always making a solicitation. That your communication out should be to some extent more value driven than solicitation driven. Like, come do business with me and, you'll get a discount, or, come do business with me and, we'll save you, we would save you 25% on your insurance or something, Now, again, I'm not saying there's, that there's something wrong with asking for business. At the end of the day, we're in business. So your marketing should lead to some point where you're going to ask for the sale, ask for the client to do business with you. But it shouldn't be every single thing, because ultimately you're going to lose them. They're not going to open up the stuff that you're sending because they just know, okay, they're just, they're soliciting me for more business. But if they open something up and they look at it and they're like, wow, that's valuable information for me, for my personal situation with my family, my planning, my business. I mean, that brings value to me. Then all of a sudden, the next thing that comes out more than likely is going to get open, because they're going to want to see, hey, is it more value because the last thing that came out from Dempsey Weiss or Jay Faith really brought value. Now, depending on your business, that can be a bit more challenging, but in our case, we can bring a lot of value with, planning and different ideas and updates on, different tax laws or insurance type of matters. But again, Jen, I mean, I think again, you could certainly, and I know you do, offer out there things that, in the beauty world, in the self-care world, that it would just be something like, what are the best foods to eat for healthy hair, and strong hair, just things like that,
Yeah.
just that might just, again, be more value driven, than, come see me, and I'll give you this offer or that type of thing. So for our listeners, just making sure that you can think through value in your communication with your customers and clients, and not just come buy something from it.
Yeah, I agree. It's about value and incentive and being able to mix the two, and it not always just, hey, come spend money. This is I'm going to give you a discount. I'm going to give you if you do this. I think, especially when we talk about new business, people want to kind of know you a little bit before they decide to do business. And that's what's great about technology with emails and social media. The key to all of that is really showing people who you are. So for me, it's not just posting up before and after pictures of the artwork that I've done, but I want to share, about my family and about my daughter and what it looks like to come and get your hair done at the salon, and what does the inside of the salon look like. So that way people kind of already know who I am before they come into the salon. And really, it's so funny. I can't wait until Eva understands one day. Simply because my daughter has curly hair, people that have curly hair want to come get their hair done by me. So it's those kind of things like, wow, if she has a daughter with curly hair, she can definitely do my hair. So it's things like that you want to show your personality, you want to show who you are before people are like, you know what? I think I do want to buy insurance from Staci because she's relatable. I feel like we're going to have a good relationship. So all of that really goes hand in hand inside of marketing, instead of just always giving incentives all the time.
So what's, I know you mentioned one of the things you're doing, Jen, now, but what are some of the personal, you mentioned about sending out thank you cards that are handwritten. So what kind of personal touch things are you doing like that?
Yeah, well, I'll say that that's probably the main thing. And then I think it's just about being inside of my business and understanding the need, right? So number one, any one of my clients that have a fundraiser or have something going on, we always donate to what they have going on. We always donate a basket of hair care products and things like that. And it just going above and beyond for what our clients' current situation, that they have going on. People know by now, I'm sure people in the podcast know that I'm really big into making sure kids have school supplies to go back to school with. And so I've had relationship with clients for so long that I understand what's going on in their lives. And so we've been able to fully take care of some children's back to school supplies. And again, all of that is just about relationship building and small touches across the board, and just understanding what's going on inside of your business, understanding what people need, and showing up for them when they need it the most. And I think that when you talk about me as a hairdresser and my salon, that's really what sets us apart from the next salon.
Period.
And it's
Well, yeah, I mean, again, writing those thank you cards. I guess the other thing, we should talk about briefly before we end is, how do you, in your business, what's the best way to capture information so that you can market? I mean, in our case, it's relatively easy. People expect us to ask for their phone number and email, when we're doing business with them. So, and again, I'm assuming it's fairly easy to get that information in your business.
And I think you see that in a lot of businesses, right? I know even where were we at? Me and Staci love this. What's it called? The pod across the street, the juice pod.
Juice pod.
And so they have a loyalty program where you go in and you put your phone number in. So now they have your phone number. Now they're texting you certain marketing things, right? So I think most businesses have some kind of system, which you have to nowadays, right? Obviously ours is a little bit more. So when we have clients come in, there's a whole sheet that we have them fill out from their name to their birthday, we automatically send them an incentive for their birthday. So again, something that's automated, I don't think about. That's an email, but their address, which for a long time we didn't take their address because we didn't need it. Now I need it. And then obviously their email address. So you do want to gather as much information about your clients as you can, so you have those options. There's for sure times where we drop the ball and have someone not fill it out, and then I go to do it and I'm like, dang, I don't have their physical address, so I can't send them a letter. So yeah, I think most businesses have that pretty much figured out on how to capture people's information, and it's important.
Well, they do, I guess, but again, for our listeners, that have small businesses, I mean, I'm not sure what it takes to do a loyalty program. I don't know what all that means, now, franchises can probably set those up pretty easy. I guess the point to our listeners is, what is it, what can you offer, what can you put out there that allows you to capture that phone number, that cell number, that email, so that now you build your database, so you have the ability then to connect with them, like I said, by text. I mean, yeah, my phone, I probably have 3 on there since we got on the podcast of some business that's reaching out to me, about a special or confirming an appointment or those type of things. But, but the fact is, it's effective. I know we use text messaging here, we use email, but, you definitely want to make sure if you're an entrepreneur getting your business started, be thinking about, how am I going to capture customer information so that, I can, continue to reach out, bring value, bring them back into my business, that type of thing.
Love it. It's all good stuff. And it's a balancing act. It's trying to figure out what is best for your business. And as we wrap up, I was also thinking for maybe those that maybe grew up with technology already being a thing, and it really being more part of their lives than even the 3 of us. Even automating your high touches, automating reminders to say, you know what, pick 5 clients on the first of the month. Put that into your calendar if you need help getting used to or kind of getting into practice of what is something that I could do to stand out. And I know that I want to do these more personal touches. Use that technology to plan out your personal touches. Well, everyone, thank you so very much for joining us. We are so glad that you were able to be a part of this podcast today, and we will see you in our next episode. Bye-bye.